Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Thoughts on Chris Duffin's duffalo bar? And Jason, if you were to personally design a strength workout for someone like a sanitation worker that hauls garbage 5 days a week and really only has energy and mental fortitude for one weekly workout, despite the difficult factor of being sore and having to place more emphasis on recovery like ice baths, followed by heat, stretching, active recovery, cardio, could it be done? If so, what would the number of sets and rep ranges be in your opinion? Thank you. I don't really have much thoughts on his duffalo bar. As far as I can tell, it just looks like really just a big longer bar. I suppose if you're going to do ultra wide squatting, like equipped type squatting or squatting with knee wraps, and you're going to be out of a monolift, a bar like that could have a lot of use, I suppose. Not something I put a lot of thought into, though. I don't know if for most people it's really worthwhile, but for the right people, I think it could be a valuable tool. Now, as far as your other thing goes, I want to make a little side note. Ice baths do not improve recovery. All right. Now, there's some arguments about contrast baths, contrast showers. But again, that might be placebo, what some people seem to get out of it. But ice does not, I repeat, does not improve recovery. If anything, it can slow it. Again, not really worthwhile. Some people would argue some benefits for fat loss, maybe in the most extreme cases. But as far as the other thing goes, you need to adapt. That's what's going to happen over time. You'll adapt to a program and to your lifestyle like anything else. So what I would say there, you probably need to find a way to get 2 training sessions. What I would say, you don't need a special program. You need special frequency based around what you're having to do. In other words, you could run any pre-existing program that is written for someone of your experience level and goals. Because your lifestyle doesn't tell me anything about the rest. Are you a novice? Are you a late novice? Are you an intermediate? I mean, where are you at? That's what's important. And if you could only train 1 to 2 days a week, you could run a 3 or a 4 day a week program and simply dial back the frequency. So let's say you ran, I don't know, just throwing out there, strong lifts, or starting strength. It's a 3 day week program. If you could only squeeze in a workout on Saturday and then maybe around Tuesday squeeze in a second one, because you need to try to get a second workout no matter what. Instead of running A, B, A each week, you'd run A on Saturday, B on like Tuesday, and repeat that. You just have to do fewer total workouts of running the same basic cycle. Hopefully that makes sense. That's what you would have to do if your life and your career forces you to reduce frequency of training. You just run the same programs with a lower frequency. You just have to spread out the work more. So if you were to run like a 12-week periodization program, it might take you 24 weeks to do all the exact specific workouts in it. All right, next question. Jason, I am a guy in the military. I struggle with my PT test, the 2-mile run specifically. I take my next one in 90 days. What kind of training protocol should I follow in order to keep my strength but increase my endurance at the same time? Someone told me to do CrossFit, but I'm not trying to be gay and snap my shit up. Should I stop lifting weights until I get my run time down? Thanks for the informative content. All right, again, yeah, people are recommending things that it's not necessarily helpful to your goals. CrossFit has its use for GPP. People who do CrossFit tend to get in pretty good shape. I'm not going to necessarily knock it, believe it or not. I'm not against CrossFit. However, you have specific goals. You don't have general fitness goals. You specifically asked me, how can I improve my run time while maintaining my strength? Well, you need to strength train and you need to run more. You need to cut out everything else then. Again, specificity of training. Your job and your career depend on this PT test, and you have 2 specific goals. That means all other fitness goals need to go away. You don't have room professionally for other bullshit. We come back now away from general fitness to specificity of training. You need to go ahead and just run pure strength training. As far as your lifts go, just straight barbell work or whatever you're doing. Cut out any accessory movements. Lift heavy on a reasonably moderate to volume program, and try to maintain the same weight on the bar. So if you've been doing sets of 5 with 300 pounds on the squat, you need to keep doing sets of 5 with 300 on the bar for a while. And you need to focus on running 2 miles every day is what you need to do. You need to focus on getting used to running 2 miles at a time all the time. That's what you need to focus on. All other physical activity, other than maybe, sex, assuming, I don't know if you got a wife or whatever on base, but all other physical activity needs to go away. You don't have room for it. You're struggling with a specificity of training issue that is directly career related. You need to put your focus on that, and then your other training, because you want to maintain your strength. You need to just train on maintaining your strength. Train specifically for your 2 goals, 2-mile runs and maintaining your strength with the weight on the bar. That's it. That's the key. Drop everything else. If you have more recovery for other bullshit, you could squeeze in another 2-mile run. Why aren't you? All right, next question. What is the best time to eat fruit? For example, I eat fruit before every gym workout because it does not bloat me and I feel good when training. I've also heard that fructose is stored as liver glycogen, but if I eat just before a workout, it can be used as energy before it gets to the liver. Is this true? Your thoughts on this topic? Thanks. I think nutrient timing for people who are not competing at the elite level in sports, who do not train at least twice a day, is really something that you can ignore. Nutrient timing in general is going to contribute to less than 1% of your total results. And if you're really going to micromanage stuff like that, you need to go ahead and become a professional athlete. The general person doesn't need to do that, because you're literally talking about the difference between possibly 1/100th of a second on your 40-meter run time, or you're literally talking about the difference between a 505 squat and a 500 squat at your next meet. If you spend the entire next year focusing on perfect nutrient timing, it's a waste of time for most people. Okay, what you said about fructose is true, but here's my question. Do you think fructose is the only carb inside a fruit? I want you to think about that. You're asking a question about a specific substance inside of naturally occurring food. Most of the sugar in fruit is not fructose. In order to even get to 50% or higher, you have to go to straight table sugar or high fructose corn syrup. And those are heavily refined. Honey is 50% fructose, by the way. 50% glucose. Fruit is usually less than that. And some fruits are some fruits are as low as 10 to 15% fructose versus glucose. So why are you worried about it? You're still getting glucose from it. You're getting glucose from fruit also. In fact, it's going to be the majority of the calories. This isn't even an issue. Don't worry about it. If you like fruit and you want to use fruit as a staple carb on certain days, eat fruit. You're still going to replenish your muscle glycogen. It's fine. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. I do weighted dips and chin-ups after heavy deadlifts, and it seems to stretch my back out nicely after the axial loading. Do you think there's any science to this or just placebo? Thanks. Yeah, actually, I noticed some of that too myself. I don't think, as far as decompressing the spine after a deadlift, I don't think there's any good research on it really showing anything here. But here's the question I would ask you. Since we know that most pain and soreness and everything around training has an enormous psychological component, even if it turns out there's no science behind what you're doing as far as decompressing the spine, if you feel relief personally from it, and let's say it's purely placebo, even if it's purely placebo, but you personally notice a benefit in terms of your recovery that you're not sure if it's based in science or not, does it matter? Meaning, if you believe that you're going to get better recovery from doing something like that, and you notice a reduced discomfort, aren't you going to have less stress cortisol or stress hormones and cortisol as a result a few hours after the training? Yeah. So if you're getting a better mental state as a result of it, even a lower perceived pain level, that will improve your recovery, won't it? So it's going to improve recovery, potentially, whether there's an actual physical mechanism in place or not. Now, there very well might be, by the way, on this one. I think it's something that needs to be looked at a little closer. I think it's possible. I don't think it's been studied to my knowledge, but I do notice the same effect personally. And that's why I like to do pull-ups and stuff after my deadlifts. So, I personally see the same thing. But either way, even if it's placebo, that placebo still has a benefit, doesn't it? All right, next question. Hey Jason, hopefully I've made it in time for the Q&As. I've been running your concurrent/lift mastery training system since you mentioned it late last year whilst regulating volume using prilepin's chart. If you were to still run this training system, how would you peak for a powerlifting meet? Thanks, coach. I would change the system to peak for a powerlifting meet because basically you're doing almost nothing but triples. Triples are not going to perfectly prepare you for a powerlifting meet. You're going to need to start working in singles. The first thing I would do is take, let's say you're running the lift mastery, but then you're running a concurrent version, which means you're only doing every other workout, the high volume triples. You're going to need to go from threes down to singles on the heavy days initially. And then even on the other volume days, if you wanted to stay with the concurrent training, I would start working my way down to doubles and then work my way down to heavy singles with, let's say, 90% of what you were using on the max effort days. Something like that would be a lot more reasonable. Again, you stick with prilepin's chart the best that you can, but keep in mind those 90% singles of your other singles are going to fall in a different rep range. But yeah, your overall volume is going to need to go down and weight on the bar is going to need to go up. That's how you peak for a powerlifting meet. All right. And again, that's assuming you want to redesign that system towards it instead of just running a proven peaking program. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.